Whoa, look at that. Hi everyone. Welcome to another editing breakdown. I forgot to do this one. That's why it's late. Okay, so um let's just kind of dive right into this one. This one's not super complicated, but there's a few things I want to say about it. So the one of the hardest parts of the video to figure out was this first shot here because I could not for the life of me figure out what should be the opening shot, and I ended up just deciding to go with this because I was like, oh, it's action heavy. There's a lot of movement at the gang. Like that's a good hook, get people interested. Oh man, that's cursed there. Um, moving along. Uh, what else is there to say? I do have things to say. I promise. Yeah, here. This is something that I tried differently with this video that I really like that I think I'm gonna start using more in future videos. Is I have a lot of these like very, as you can see on timeline, like very quick cut, very quickly cut jokes and stuff. Like for example, like let's look at how long this image is on screen. Like a lot of these jokes are on screen for literally like 2 seconds at most. I like putting in those little zingers that'll make people like pause and go back to be like, oh, what was that? So they're like, this isn't even an 11-minute video, and there are so many of these. Also, you gotta love the attention to detail we got here when I took the time to censor this word, but forgot to just get rid of. I forgot to censor the middle finger. That's the class you get from my channel sometimes. Big mistake though. Also this big red bar down here, that's just a that the only thing that's missing from my edit actually here on the timeline is my commentary, which I did delete that track, so I don't have that anymore. But everything else is intact about this, but that's fine because we don't need that anyway. So this was a shot I really liked. Is I'm talking about how Sonic and Shadow are like Goku and Vegeta, and then when I go to talk Silver, I use this shot of it zooming in on him to very visually communicate focus being shifted over to him from Sonic and Shadow, and even these things. The way the shots are composed is very pleasing because they're going this way, facing this way. They're more on the left side of the screen because obviously Sonic's is literally more on the right. But what I mean is that they occupy more of this, and like the empty void space, the white space of this is mostly on the right. So when you cut here, he's occupying most of the right. That's where your eyes are going to go just to fill in the shot, because once you go from here, where this is mostly being filled, to here, where it's very much not filled, your eyes are going to be drawn right to the thing that pops out, which is him. Moving along here. This was one of the driving forces for why I wanted to make this video, is to talk about how the story had evolved in terms of, in the series, how the story had evolved to, sorry about that, to go from, doing space to literally tackling the concept of time, which I thought was quite clever, even if it wasn't pulled off the best. I wanted to mention Sonic Rush because this video was kind of a big love letter to the Sonic series, because I've been a Sonic fan since I was, I want to say 6 years old or something. The first Sonic game I played was on the GBA. It's somewhere here. This is another really quick cut because this is literally up for how long, actually. Let's see. Does it even say? Whatever. 13 frames, so like a third of a second. What's funny though is that this bit wasn't meant to be a bit. Originally the script was just arguably, but I decided to make a joke in editing by adding the inarguably very quick, and it went along with these quick cut jokes, which as a whole makes sense for this kind of video, right? It's about Sonic, so doing very fast bits I thought was fun. That's why the whole video is very fast paced. Over here, this was a shot that I'm very conflicted on because I don't really care for how it looks here, even though it's very short. I'm not huge on how it turned out. Originally, I just wanted it to be this, black on the sides, but I don't like how vertical this looks. I feel like it's almost too vertical. So, I mean, I guess I could have done something like this just to fill it out a bit more, because this kind of composition feels much better to me. But obviously, the picture looks like garbage because it's all stretched out. So, that's something that happened there. This channel I talk about with all the clips from 17, 18 years ago, surprisingly easy to find by searching like Sonic story. And I mean, you can see exactly what I looked for here, which I could have literally looked story before 2006 or 2007 or whatever, and I would have gotten it. Very easy to find, which was a relief because this was one of the most this is one of the parts of the video I was the most excited to do because I just wanted to talk about old YouTube for a second, and I was even very much tempted to use this browser extension that Snowwood told me about that makes YouTube look like it did in like 2007-ish. Especially for this shot right here. Funny enough, you see a Cybershell video recommended here, ironically enough. But anyway, point being, I really wanted to use it for this, but I decided to not do it just... Sorry, I decided not to because the whole point of this shot is to talk about how things used to be. So looking at how things used to be from the perspective of new YouTube, right, which you can see right here, I think that's very fitting thematically with what this part of the video is about. So, and I also like cut these clips together. This is not how it flows, just because I didn't really like... I wanted more movement and change in terms of the frame here for this section, so I cut a couple different ones together. Then we have... Here I actually added a camera shake in, which is something I never do in these videos, in any of my videos. So it's right here, and you can see it there. I've toned it down a bit, but if you turn it off, you can see it's very different. I ultimately think the camera shake was a good add. I'm not huge on camera shakes, so that's why I don't really use them at all in videos. I think it's the only one I've ever put in one of my videos. I'm not huge on them, which is why you don't see them very often, but I decided to put it there just to see if it worked, and I end up liking how it cut. This was another thing I wanted to talk more about originally when I was writing the video, the Sonic Genesis port on GBA. I was really excited to talk about this too, but I ended up, it's literally, what is this? 329, 331. It's literally 2 seconds of talking about it. But this was the first Sonic game I played, and that's why I was really excited to talk about it. But I didn't end up panning out, just because I didn't end up having much to say other than, like, I thought it was really... Other than it's, like, a really bad port of the game. Something I actually didn't know until much later, after... Because this was the first Sonic game I ever saw, as I said before. So I didn't really have a concept of what good, bad video games were, because this was one of the first video games I ever saw on the GBA. So I thought it rocked, and that's what everyone was talking about too. They're like, I'm so sorry that was your first exposure to it, but I really liked it. You know, the funny thing is, I had a little trouble finding a clip for this section where I talk about the voice acting to showcase the bad voice acting in this game, because there is some, but it took me a bit to figure it out, to actually find the clip. This clip took like no time at all, because if you look up bad Sonic voice acting, this one just comes up, so I just kind of ripped it straight from the YouTube video. There are some... I didn't want to use the obvious Sonic Adventure clip where he's like, you know? It felt too obvious to use, so that's why I didn't end up using that one, even though that's probably the one most people were anticipating. That would be there from the way the video plays out. A lot of Sonic 06 footage from a lot of different sources. I originally wanted to do the Project 06 footage myself, but I didn't end up getting to do that, and that's not even what this is, so I don't know why I'm talking about that, but all the Project 06 footage was taken from trailers and the such. This clip's actually straight out of, what is it, a Game Grumps video, because you can even see it here. When I zoom out a bit, you can see the orange. But I really wanted to have this clip, because this is such a common glitch that happens when you're playing the game, is you run off this edge and don't hit that boosting pad. Here, in fact, I can just extend the clip a little bit here. And then you just go off and you die. That happens all the time when you play that level, so I really wanted that to be in there, because it's one of my favorite, feels like the weird way to put it, but it is one of my favorite glitches in the game. And this was particularly the part of the video I was most excited to do, because just kind of talking about how there is a lot of artistic merit, and there is like a lot of thought and cool ideas, this is always what comes to mind for me, because the thought of... I talk about in the video about like this Exodus sort of imagery it has, of being like between these two giant walls of water. I don't know, I think it's so powerful with how the music comes together, and I was very reluctant initially to... This was something I like doing, though. I feel like I could have used better images, but I was actually very hesitant at this specific section right here to have this section that's just the music playing for a while, because I didn't know if it would play well, and you know, I looked at like the retention graph, and people kind of just skip past this part, but I thought it was important to talk about to demonstrate my point, and I don't feel like it goes on too long. I feel like it's still very nice for the video. I think it might just be kind of a hiccup for some people watching it because the whole video is so fast paced up to this point. Then this is really where it takes its time and slows down for a bit. There's all these clips also when it's supposed to be dramatic where you just see Sonic running off the ledge like that. But, you know, what can you do? It's the kind of game it is. Hey, yeah, I wish I could have done more with that and actually used a clip, but I didn't like how the camera changed so fast. It would have to be a very abrupt cut, and that's why I just ended up using an image instead. Moving around, I was excited to talk about Sonic Adventure originally being an RPG too. That's a clip from Cybershell video. I was actually very concerned a lot of people were going to be very upset about what I had to say about Sonic Adventure 2's world, but nobody cared at all, so there you go. I wish I would have used a clip here instead of this photo. I really do. Because what I wanted to use was a clip of Sonic entering, I don't even remember what the stage is called, but the one where he snowboards that's in the other area of Soliana, Castletown. That's what I wanted to put right here, of him doing that, because that's the one that always comes to mind, but this is the one that came up. It's one I was able to find quicker, so that's what I ended up using. And yeah, it's actually like right over there in this area. I wanted to bring up the Final Fantasy thing because that's like the most common point of contention. The whole premise of this video is to talk about the things people don't talk about, which are the good. And a lot of people misconstrued that as me saying the game is a masterpiece or saying, no, I'm saying it has good in it. I just used a very clickbaity title. I want to talk about I like the 2D Sonics. Eggman was one that I actually was having a little trouble with because I had to cut around him for a long time because I didn't want to really be showing him until I was talking about him in the video. So like this 9-minute mark, which is crazy because like that means there's a minute and a half left of the video, and yet I talk about like 3 or 4 other topics here. This is an insanely fast-paced video. But it's not until 9 minutes in you ever see a clip of Eggman, and it was actually kind of hard to cut around with how many cutscenes I use as B-roll for this. This was this person, this NPC, the most horrifying thing in existence, is an image I knew I had to use from the get-go, because it's one of the images from Sonic 06 that resonates with me the most, which is why I initially, before I even started writing the video, knew I had to include that NPC somehow. I'm so happy I found this clip from Sonic Heroes because I just needed a clip of like a bunch of Sonic characters together, and I didn't know if I'd be able to get one where the pacing wouldn't be really weird with the rest of how the video's cut. And this one actually just cuts perfectly, which was very relaxing. I also refrained from using Project 06 footage until this part because I wanted to make a very brief note of it because I didn't want to dive into the minutia of what it's doing right because there's a million videos on that topic. I did want to talk about Sonic and Secret Rings because again, this is kind of about my experience with the Sonic series, this video. So Sonic and Secret Rings, one of the first Sonic games I played, hated it, terrible. I wanted to talk about the glitches too, but as a positive because I thought that was another interesting part. And then Sonic Underground, again, one where it's very much something just kind of wanting to talk about my experience with the series because I love this show. Unironically, I really enjoy it. And I know it's like absolutely hated by so many Sonic fans. But again, first Sonic cartoon I ever saw before the other ones, and I really enjoyed that. And the ending is so abrupt. Like, how long is that? 1 second? Ending is so abrupt, but again, it's just a matter of wanting to keep up the pace of the video and not waste people's time, because I feel like in the past something I've struggled with editing is making the endings way too long. So I ended up just going ahead and making this as short as possible. And you probably noticed that with some of my more recent videos is the endings tend to be not as drawn out. That's why I don't have credits at the end anymore. All that. It just didn't feel warranted because it feels like it just kind of kills the pace of the video. Anyways, that's everything I have to say about my Sonic video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back to talk about the development video soon. Goodbye.